right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to our very first SLA member conference online. And we're very excited today because we've got a very special guest that's going to be sharing with us how to find customers and then how to close those guys. So I just think we're so fortunate to have our guest here this evening, and I am going to turn this over to Linda Galicchio and let her do the introductions today. So Linda?
Hello, everybody. I've been waiting for this day for a long time, wanting to have these webinars. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you are too. What we're going to do today is something a little bit different than we usually do on the webinars. 20 to 30 minutes, Phil's going to give a presentation, and then the rest of the time, we really want it to be conversational, interactive, where you can ask questions, but not only ask questions. You can give opinions. You can tell us about yourself in certain areas. Just a back and forth where everybody can share. So without further ado, I'm going to give you Mr. Phil Galicchio. And Phil has worked with some of the biggest companies in the country. He's a business development strategist, and he facilitates continuous improvement across all sales functions in these companies. He is a collaborative and interactive sales professional and mentor, with a positive attitude committed to creating a world-class customer experience. Phil's motto is energy, attitude, and enthusiasm. So now here's Phil Galicchio. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that introduction, Linda. I appreciate that. I guess what I might like to start with is, you know, when often you hear people ask the question, what makes a great salesman? And you hear answers like, I'm a good listener, I work hard, I have enthusiasm, I have passion. I'm here to tell you that the broad brush to this answer is doing those things that other people refuse to do. That is, when you learn what you need to do, you have to have the discipline and follow through with those differentiated functions that will bring about the success that you desire in sales. And what we're going to talk about today is basically, where do you find your customers? How do you approach your customers, understanding their challenges, and then, of course, the sale. There are basically two words, actually one word and one phrase that you will hear continuously through this entire presentation. The single word is intent, I-N-T-E-N-T. If everybody would take a second and just write that simple word in front of you. And then there's a two-word phrase. It's called solution provider. So write down the word intent and write down the word solution provider. So moving on, what we really want to talk about today is the client, the definition of intent, the benefit to that client, how do we approach that client, how do we understand that client or go through a process of discovery? And of course, the ultimate goal is the sale. And then what we want to do is take a look at some indices that will help us understand how to keep score and finish with some tips. So in this case, what we want to do is I basically picked two industries that lend themselves to coaching. One would be the health and wellness industry, and the other would be the career or life coach industry. And we're going to call it today a transitional coach that would help someone move on to a new job and or change their life. So we want to kind of deal within those two industries. Now I want to go back to that word we talked about, intent. Webster's definition of intent is intent. The thing that you plan to do or achieve, an aim or a purpose. Now, why is that important? Because in any exchange of conversation between you and a potential client, there has to be the customer or the potential client has to understand that you have a genuine intent to help them with their challenges. They're not looking for somebody who's trying to sell somebody something. They're looking for someone who is going to help them with their current challenges. In this case, we're talking about challenges, whether they be in the health and wellness. I'm trying to understanding what their goals are in terms of whether taking off weight or just living a healthier life, or certainly in the career industry, understanding, giving them the impression that you have a genuine intent to help them find a job. What is it that you can offer? What is it that you can now offer your client? What are the benefits to the client? Well, what is it that your coach training or your training teaches you to do? It helps you to inspire. It teaches you to motivate. It teaches you to provide accountability to that potential client. You're telling that potential client that you are a compassionate listener and that you believe that the client has the right answers and you want to work with him because you have the right questions to get the right answers from that client. We want to stay with intent for a second, because your prospect must believe that you have a genuine intent in providing these benefits to that prospect. If they for a second think that you're trying to sell something, you're going to turn them off. They have to, don't confuse this with selling. It's not your job, it's your job, rather, to convey that you possess these talents as part of a solution provider to help them with their challenges. Does it start to gel about why intent and solution provider is so important in getting and developing the business that we're all here to do? Where do we find these clients? How do we find these clients? How do we go about finding who they are, approaching them, and showing them that we have the intent as a solution provider to help them with their challenges? One way is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an extremely powerful tool that if no one has used it, I would be willing to spend some time pro bono in helping them to get started on it. It not only provides you with a profile to put out to the world, to the universe, about who you are and what you do, but it gives you an opportunity to join groups that fit within the health and wellness industry, that fit within the career industry, where you can actually join these groups and engage in conversations whereby others will see your responses and conversational activity within these discussions that say, hey, I want to hear more about that person. Maybe that person has something that can help me with what I'm trying to accomplish in my life. Also, when you join these groups, not only do you get involved with the discussions within the groups, but there are also billboards, they call them actually job boards within these groups, where you can actually list your services, and people within that discipline, whether it be health and wellness or whether it be somebody looking for a job, can go onto these job boards and see who potential providers might be within that group that can help them with their current challenges. Another way to find clients is through associations. Now, how do you find associations? Let's take, for instance, the health and wellness. Well, you might Google health and wellness, and what might come up with, in Googling that are events, fairs, health and wellness fairs, health and wellness companies, training companies, trainers, gyms, things of that sort that perhaps provide you with an opportunity to become part of their curriculum in getting 5 or 10 or 15 minutes at a particular fair that they might hold, where you can provide your services and network with people that of like minds that are within the health and wellness industry. Career fairs. There are lots of career fairs. You might reach out to these career fairs. Number one is you always want to walk the floor of a career fair with your cards and engage with other people that might be on the floor looking for jobs, and just have a conversation, very conversational, about what they're doing and where they're going and what their challenges have been in trying to find a job. One step better in this area is to actually reach out ahead of the fair being held and talk to an organizer about perhaps providing a simple little desk or little booth where you can provide your services to people that might be walking by your table. If you can, that's probably the best way to find prospects. If you can find 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of these prospects at each of these fairs, it is just a wealth of opportunity to start off your business. Another way is Craigslist. You can go on and you can list your services on Craigslist. Again, it's not about selling your services on Craigslist, but it's about presenting yourself as a solution provider in helping somebody with their challenges. That you could develop that before you put it on Craigslist and actually put it on every week. You could list it each week, and I guarantee that you will start to get responses to that. But it all comes back to intent. What is the intent of the person that's looking at that ad? Or of the person looking at that ad, what do they perceive as your intent? Are you just trying to sell something for $3.99 or $4.99 or $5.99 or $75 an hour or $50 an hour, or do they perceive your service as a genuine intent in helping them with their issues? Of course, the other one is circle of influence. We all know people who know people. And if you call around to your immediate circle of influence in letting them know that you're developing this new business as a coach, they may not know, or they may not need that service, but the very next question might follow is, do you know anybody that needs that service? And they might give you 2 or 3 names. You reach out to them and ask them if they need that service. And then the very next question again is, do you know anybody that needs that service? You would be amazed how fast that list would grow in terms of people that are approachable to at least have an initial conversation about what it is that you provide. Again, you're a solution provider. You're not selling. The other part is actually, we talk about speaking to niche groups, whether they be women's clubs, church groups, believe it or not, VFWs. Our veterans are coming home from the war, and they're involved in a life's transition, whether that be just to kind of recenter themselves back in our domestic soils, or whether that be to go out and actually find a new career. You can help them with that if, in fact, you come across as that person who is genuinely interested in what it is, as to what their challenges are and how you can help them. If there are any questions on how to approach customer or prospective clients through any of these areas, please reach out. I am not a guy that likes to just talk. I very much like an interactive presentation, and if there's any questions about perhaps how do you deal with LinkedIn, how would you approach an association, how do you get involved in some of these job fairs or health and wellness fairs, any of these, please reach out and ask me, and I'd be more than happy to answer these questions. Because guess what? The person next to you is, or the other person on the line listening to this probably has the same question.
If anyone's raising their hand.
Okay, so let's go. I'm sorry for that. Let's go.
All right, Phil, we did get a question from Marianne. She says she doesn't know what to say to people. What would be the best way to start the conversation?
The best way to start the conversation is certainly, and let's actually talk about this. Let's look at this elevator pitch, because really this helps you to start a conversation. Hi, my name is, I'm sorry, what was the lady's name? Did you?
Marianne.
I didn't get that. Okay.
I'm sorry, Marianne.
Hi. That's okay. Hi, my name is Marianne, and I work with people just like yourself to motivate and inspire them to live their best life. If you can give me 15 minutes, I will show you how I can work together with you to achieve these goals. Now, what you're trying to get out of this elevator pitch is basically getting them to want to hear more about what you have to say. Now, I just put that elevator pitch together. That's not the perfect pitch. Sometimes it needs to be put within a vernacular that one is comfortable with. But essentially, what you're doing is you're giving them the impression that you deal with people just like them to help them increase the quality of their life. And that if you, and what you're not trying to do there is sell the concept. All you're trying to do is sell a meeting, to sell the opportunity to spend 15 or 20 minutes to sit down and talk to them at a more detailed level about what you're able to offer them. Does that make sense? I want to go on to the next piece of approaching that person. How do you approach that person? So we've kind of got, these are some of the words that you might use, but it's all about relating. Relating is a really powerful word. What you really do when you relate to somebody is you're lowering their pain. Think about when you're in a crowd and somebody walks up to you. What happens immediately to any of us? Your defenses go way up. Unless you can feel in a safe place, unless you can feel that this person has a commonality with who you are, or has some sort of a genuine intent to have a conversation with you, will your pain level go down. And unless that pain level goes down, there's no way that you can really get into a constructive conversation about the solutions that you might be able to provide this person in ascertaining their goals. So what is relating? It's a commonality. You work with people I work with people just like you. There's a commonality there. Propriety is that you need to look the part. Now, obviously, we're not in front of a lot of these people, so what they need to understand is I work with people just like yourself in the health and wellness industry, people that are looking for jobs. Then obviously, you have to show a competence in what it is that you do. You need to show that you know what you're talking about. But the most important element is having that genuine intent that when you're talking to these people, when you're talking to a prospective client, that you are interested in them. It's not about me, I. Who is the most important person in the world? It's always themselves. So in trying to develop a relationship with somebody, it's all about them, not you. They really don't care about you. But what can you provide to them that can help them get to where they want to be? And then what you begin to do is you begin to create a trust with your prospect. That is your primary goal. It's the trust factor, not making a sale. They can't think that you're looking to make a sale, because what that brings up those terrible images of, and I hope I'm not walking down the wrong path here, that used car salesman. We often think of the used car salesman. Hey man, you want to do this? Da, 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 da. He's only interested in what he can sell you, not in what you want. What you want to do is, during this approach, and you need to be conscious about this, is you want to constantly shift your mindset away from making the sale towards whether or not the fit exists or not for the person you're talking to. Your aim is to qualify, not force or persuade. It's all about listening to this person. Once you've lowered their pain level, once you've got them to engage in a conversation, it's all about listening to them and constantly bringing to the surface that you are a service provider, not a pitcher. You're not pitching a service or a product. This conversation will constantly, if you have a total awareness of being a solution provider and not the pitcher, this definitely centers the conversation on the other person, not you. They totally have to understand that your prospects' challenges, that they feel understood by you. They need to feel that you understand what their challenges are. This constantly goes back to those first two things that we talked about. They need to be totally confident that your genuine intent is to help them with their challenges, and that you are a solution provider that can help them do just that. Let's see here. Are there any more questions in that area? Because, I mean, that's just such a mouthful, Barbara.
Right.
What
You're
we're
right.
talking about today, so I've probably...
You're right. There are no more further questions, but you're right. This is such an important piece, is to make your client the center of attention, because they are the most important person that you're talking in the world to you as well as to them in that moment, right?
That's absolutely correct. That's why you constantly need to be shifting your mindset away from making the sale constantly, and you need to aim to qualify and not force or persuade. So important.
Right. So it's about listening. So it is about listening, but it's about asking questions too that get your client talking about themselves, talking about what's going on with them, so that you're hearing the different issues that they need to have from a solution provider, right?
That is absolutely positively correct.
And so I get this. Being a solution provider is a great position to be speaking to someone from. Yeah, I'm a solution provider for that, and I can help you with that. I think,
right. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to provide something for you. And so how do you get to perhaps what their challenges are? Let's go to the next slide for a second. You're taught in your training that it's all about these Socratic questions. I call them drill down questions. You call them Socratic questions. But basically the intent is to uncover their specific the specific challenges of your potential client. And ask you, and I'll tell you, a great a great follow-up, when you ask a question, certainly you want to ask open-ended questions, so it lends to a conversation rather than a yes or no. And when you do receive an answer, my favorite retort is, why is that? A simple, why is that? Oh, and why is that? Really? And why is that? You will be, once you get a potential client to start talking about themselves and what their challenges are, that person will absolutely be a client. I guarantee it. You don't need to close the sale, because they will feel so comfortable that you understand what's going on in their life and that you can help them resolve some of those issues that stand in the way. Who wouldn't want help in doing that?
Absolutely, I agree. If I was sitting there complaining about something that was going on for me, and somebody said, I have a solution for that, I'd be excited to hear about their solution. Really.
That's absolutely positively correct. Now, the other thing that I want to bring to bear here is that while you're asking these, while you're talking to the customer and you're drawing this information from the customer, you want to make some notes. You want to make some notes about what they're talking about, because as you kind of get to the end of this 15 minutes that you've received by warming up to this customer, you've moved on to the next stage and they've given you the 15 minutes to do a little discovery, you want to get an agreement on what is heard from your potential client.
Right,
So
and that's a way to get to a lot of yeses, right? Because
absolutely, positively. So
that's
can
great.
I get agreement on what is heard? So if I'm correct, your issues in trying to take 30 pounds off are not enough time to exercise, not enough, you work too hard, you eat too much, you eat the wrong things. If I can help you with those obstacles that stand in your way to achieving your goal, when can we start a process where I can help you? It's how can they say no? How can you say no? But we started off in the beginning by saying, yeah, it's important to listen and it's important to have compassion and it's important to do this and do that in terms of being a really effective person who not only generates leads but closes leads. It's all about doing those things that other people refuse to do. You need to follow the proper course of order, one step at a time, in the order that they should be in order to come to that final sale.
I think that's a brilliant answer. I mean, just really repeating back to them everything that they just told you. So becoming a very good listener and then being able to feed it back and say, so what I heard you say was this, yes, and I heard you say this, yes, and I heard you say this, yes. And if I could, I believe I am the solution for you for this problem, because I know that I can help you with that. When can we get started?
Absolutely.
Now that is a close. Now we had a couple questions.
That is your close. And without closing, that is your close.
Exactly. So here's a question from the chat box. One person says, getting the person to talk about themselves is no problem for me. It's actually getting the appointment commitment. So there's your appointment commitment. When can we get started? What works for you?
Right. Absolutely. Put it back on them. Put it back. And again, at the onset, don't sell yourself. Just sell the meeting. Just sell. It's a two-step process. Just sell the meeting. And at the meeting, you go through the relating process of lowering their pain so that you can have a conversation, and then you go and you ask permission. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Can I add something really quick?
How can anybody say no to that? And so then you start asking those questions, and then you're taking your notes, and then so if what I understand, you collect those things that are important to them, when can we start so that I can help you with these obstacles?
Right. Okay. I have another question from Nia. She says, I hear that you should not focus on making the sale, but don't you have to ask for the sale at some point?
You know, here, let's go right back to this discovery process in asking them questions about their challenges. You then get the agreement on what their challenges are. If I can help you with those challenges to reach your goals, can we now start our first session? That is so different than, this is what I do and this is what it costs. Does that make sense? Please respond to that. The person that gave that answer, please respond if I didn't answer that for you.
I got something to add. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes.
I got something to add. I would, when I'm setting the meeting, if they're like, "Ooh, I just don't really have time right now," I would go back and rehash the first answer, like, well, I want to do this because it's my passion, and I want to really help people. Remember, you're saying why and why and why and how come, right? I would rehash the reasons why they're going to do this in the first place.
That works. That absolutely works. The thing is, you want to, as long as you can keep a prospective client talking, you will find a way to provide a service to them in a very soft close, not a hard close, a very soft close. Okay?
Wonderful. Yeah.
And you know, I'm hoping that you invite me back again, because this in itself, you know, the discovery process that leads to the next step, which is the advocation, or what you're going to do for them based on the discovery process, is an entire session on itself. In fact, I have a master's degree, and I spent 2 years on those two subjects.
That's great. That's great. All right. I have a question from Mitch, and it says, when I was establishing my technical consulting business long before coaching, I was told by several resources that I could expect 10 suspects for 3 prospects for 1 sale, and I found that largely to be the case. Do you have any similar experience in the coaching realm?
Great question. Okay. A suspect is not always a prospect. Think about that. A suspect is not always a prospect. That means that what you're offering is not good for everyone. The suspect are all of those people, let's say, looking for a job. Let's call them suspects because they're looking for a job. They're all suspects. The prospect is the person that will accept the value that you provide to help them reach their goal of getting a job. There are 1 million people out there looking for work. Let's just use a round number, 1 million people. I would submit to you that 15% of those people are willing to accept help in getting that job. So the 1 million people are the suspects. The 15% or the 150,000 are the prospects. So you narrow down your focus on those people where their high value needs match your value offering. Where their high value needs match your value offering. that's when you're dealing with a prospect and not a suspect. A suspect is a guy out there that says, hey, listen, I want to do it, but I want to pay you 30 cents an hour. Well, he's not meeting my value offering because I want to be paid for what I know. So you concentrate on the prospect rather than the suspect.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, very important actually. I want to skip over to the next piece for just a second. Keeping score. Keeping score with SMART goals. SMART goals are, S-M-A-R-T. They must be specific goals. They must be measurable goals. They must be achievable goals. They must be relevant to what it is that you want to ascertain, and they must be timely. So how do we relate this to the real world? For you to be really successful in building your business, you have to determine, you have to put together some SMART goals. Let's put together one SMART goal. I'm going to make 5 phone calls a day to industry, 5 phone calls a day to center of influences, to new people. 5 phone calls a day. And I'm going to make them every single day. So what have we done? It's a very specific goal. What am I going to do? I'm going to make 5 phone calls. It's very timely because I'm saying I'm going to make it every day. It's certainly measurable because you can look back at the end of the day and see whether or not I made those 5 phone calls. Is it achievable? What you don't want to do is say, I am going to make 30 phone calls a day to build my business. That's not really achievable. And that sets yourself up for disaster. That'll set yourself up for failure. It needs to be achievable. And it needs to obviously be relevant. Are these phone calls that I'm going to make relevant to me reaching my goal of building the business? Am I just going to call friends? Or am I going to make phone calls with a purpose? So I'm going to make those 5 phone calls every single day. And you need to stick by those. And what you want to do is, I talk about a concept called the vital few. You want to develop 1 or 2 of these goals, specific goals that will help you build your business. Now we talked about what it might be is, I am going to spend, one specific goal is, I am going to spend 20 minutes a day on LinkedIn in discussions. Every single day I'm going to spend 20 minutes. Another goal is I am going to make 5 phone calls. Another goal is I am going to get out to the Chamber of Commerce in my town and the surrounding towns to see what types of meetings or associations are available where I might be able to engage in a networking process. Those are 3 goals. Those are 3 achievable and timely goals. And to say that you're going to do something is only a thought until it's on paper. When it's on paper, it becomes a goal. And that goal needs to be written and in front of you. You need to look at that goal every day. I'm going to make the 5 phone calls. I'm going to be on LinkedIn for 20 minutes, and I'm going to visit at least one Chamber of Commerce per week. That keeps you on a track to reach out and network with other people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does to me.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, I want to go up to this thing. You talk about tips. What can help you run your business? You know what? There's nothing like preparation. And I want to talk about this for a quick second in regard to a phone call. Let's assume that you've got a potential client that perhaps you met at an industry function, that perhaps you've connected with on LinkedIn, and you've set up a phone appointment for that 15-minute meeting to kind of drill down on what their challenges are so that you can see if they are a suspect or a prospect. You really want to be prepared before you make that call. You want to sit in silence for 15 minutes before you make that call. If you've taken all that effort, if you spent all that time to get that meeting, be prepared to have the conversation. Don't wing it. Because so often if you wing it, what will happen is you'll get off the phone and say, I should have said this, I should have said that, I should have said this. But it's happened to all of us. It's absolutely. But by being prepared and making those simple notes, you can get the most out of the conversation you have with your potential client. The other thing is being persistent, obviously. I mean, that goes without saying. But I want to go to the number 3 one is keeping in touch, is to keep in touch. You know, just because you get that 15-minute meeting, you may have something that they want, but they just don't seem to want it or need it today. Well, my last question with that potential client is, I'm not going to say might be, always is, when is an appropriate time to get back to you and to continue this conversation and engage in a future contract? I would put that into your outlook.
Good. That's really good, Phil. I need a repeat for those that are more than one time.
Yeah. When is an appropriate time for me to get back to you and continue this conversation so I can provide you with the services that we've talked about to enable you to deal with the obstacles that are keeping you from your goals? Boy, is that powerful.
It is powerful.
And so here it is, I don't know, we're on the 15th of July, and they may say, okay, so call me back the first week of August. I would go right into my whether you have Office or you have Outlook or whatever it is, go into your calendar and mark down in the calendar, I'm going to call Marie in the afternoon to discuss, and in the body of that appointment that you put in the calendar, I would list a few bullets about where you left your conversation and where you want to go. That's keeping in touch, and that's the persistence piece.
That's the key. I heard something about follow-up is everything.
It is absolutely everything. You know, very seldom do you find somebody at a networking group and you get that 15 minutes and you have that 15 minutes and they say yes.
Right,
Sometimes,
right.
Basically, it takes 3 to 5 times to have that conversation. But if you get enough of those opportunities into what we call the pipeline,
right,
then they will fall when you least expect it. I guarantee that this process works.
That's absolutely right. So it's about connecting with people, getting yourself out there, finding the leads, getting out there and letting people know what you do. So big word of mouth, let everybody know what you do. And the question is, do you know anybody else that could use my solution?
Absolutely, right? Positively.
So you're not only connecting with the people that you're out reaching out to and you're actually making contact with, you're also asking them to reach out to their connections. And then once you have the are able to set an appointment, a 15-minute appointment to speak, then you're going to have that conversation with them and find out what's going on with them. And when you find out what's going on with them, you're going to feed that back to them and say, and so what I heard you say is this, and this, and this is a problem for you, yes, and this is a problem for you, yes, and this is a problem for you. So when can we get started?
Absolutely, Barb. Absolutely.
Now, thanks, Barb. I have a question too, Phil. This is great stuff. It really is. And what I hear you saying if people do it, will really increase their confidence. Because I know that for me, and maybe you guys out there, one of the big questions is, how do I increase my confidence to be able to do this? And it seems as though, and you can tell me, the more that you do these steps and just, put your fear away and take that leap of faith, that builds confidence.
And being prepared.
And being prepared.
I'd like to share something on that note really quick. One thing in my niche of coaching, working with men, helping them build their confidence, I have them talk to everybody in public. You see the guy, next to you in line, strike up a conversation with them. Find the commonalities. You'll end up being really good at breaking the ice and connecting with someone, and that's the first part of your call, is finding that common link and then talking about what they need and if you can help them.
And great point, because that's the relating piece. That's the relating piece of lowering their pain so that you can engage in a conversation.
If I could add something too.
Oh, nice.
If I could add something too. Some of the most successful salespeople I know are the busiest people I know. And by saying that, what I mean is that they don't just look for people who are interested in their services, but they help people as well. So, there's a pay it forward technique where when you meet somebody and maybe they're not interested in your services, you keep their information. You maybe email them and say, hey, how are you doing? It was great meeting you. And then if you know somebody that needs their services, you can refer people back and forth. And referral services are one of the best ways to get customers. So
absolutely.
Just by paying it forward, you never know when that lead is going to come your way.
And it's one of the oldest disciplines known to man. You're absolutely right.
Right. I love that. I love that. It's
I'd like to say I would like to elaborate on what you just said was really important, and I've heard it in a lot of self-help things, and it's like somebody needs you for a favor. You can see where you can be of service to somebody. It's more valuable to do it for free and out of the goodness of your heart than ask for money for it, because it usually comes back tenfold. I know a lot of people who are speakers, have people speak at all their gatherings for free just because this guy does so many favors for them. So networking in this day and age is the name of the game, absolutely. I really agree with what you said.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Good comments.
Yeah. Any more questions from our group? And if anybody would like to chat instead of type, please just put your hand up in the control panel. There's an area there where you can put your hand up, and we'd be happy to unmute you and have you join us. So yeah, I think this has been really good, Phil. It's a lot of value provided for our coaches that are wondering how do they approach customers. But when can we get started is a great closing sentence, even though you're not closing, right? And,
absolutely.
When somebody has an objection to, well, I'm not sure if I can afford it, tell me more about that is a great response. Tell me more about that. Because what you might find is it's not that they really can't afford it. They just maybe, it could be something completely different, like I don't want to go to my husband and ask him for the money. Right?
Correct.
Not that they can't afford it. They can afford it. They just don't want to ask her. So just ask. Tell me more about that. And what was that line that you said, Phil? I want to just get that one more time because you had a great line just like that.
What? Let's see. I had so many lines that I brought out.
The one that you kept saying is like the one that you kept repeating that you said is your great response to them when they're talking.
Oh, it is just, why is that?
Why is that? There you go.
Why is that? Tell me more about that. Why is that? What is that like? Okay, so, I've been really trying to take off 30 pounds, and, you met him at an event, and I'm really trying to take off 30 pounds, and I've had a lot of issues, and tell me more about that. What is that like in your life?
Right, I think that's great. Tell me more about that, and what is that like, and what is that like, and why is that?
What is that like? And you continue to drill down, and as you get them to talk more about themselves, I guarantee it will provide an opportunity for you to come back by providing a solution to overcome those obstacles. And I want to say one last thing about that. Typically, in a person that's going out soliciting business, the average, I'm going about the average person, not the great ones, but the average salesperson puts price at the forefront. All wrong. It is not about price. If you provide that, why do people buy $300,000 cars while other people buy $20,000 cars? It's all about the value. What is the value that you're offering? And I guarantee you that if you listen to what they have to say and you can react to their challenges, that price goes down, or the cost of that value that you're going to offer them goes down to maybe fourth or fifth in line. And typically, the price is always much stronger in the seller than it is in the receiver.
That's right, right.
But price is typically a blow-off. If they're bringing up price, then you haven't done their job in providing enough information to them to want your product.
Can I share another thing? I'd also like to say that you really, when you're selecting your clients, sometimes they might not fit in your niche. Now, it's not always wise just to jump in those anyway because it's more business for you. That's where your networking might come in. You really want to honestly help people the best you can, because when you do find someone who's your niche and you're like, look at this guy, like, I could change this guy's life. He doesn't even know it yet. Well, when you do, that person's going to have such a shine in them around their friends, around everyone else. Like, what did you do? You know, and that's when your name will come up, and that's when the referrals will be coming back to you. And I've noticed a lot of that in my own experiences.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
You know, if you can really change someone's life, you're not going to charge him that much because it's going to come back to you tenfold. He's going to be a giant bulletin board of your work out there in public.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. And what you can also do is you can do a little legwork and help them find somebody that is in their niche. So help them find a coach that does do what they're looking for. And then that coach is going to be grateful to you and hopefully send people your way.
Great comment.
Absolutely. That goes back to networking. Absolutely.
I want to make, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a question, another question from Mitch, and he says, a situation I frequently encounter is that prospects, well, maybe suspects, tend to lump coaching in with new age stuff, crystals and such, and so they're not willing to engage in progressive, useful conversations. How can I overcome that preconceived misperception?
It's all about, again, let's go back. I can't say it enough. Let's go back to that single word of intent. Intent. How do you present yourself to that person? Do you present yourself to that person as offering some magic? Or do you present something to that person that has a genuine intent in providing something and being a solution provider to their challenges, to understanding what their obstacles have been in reaching out and reaching their goals? This is not about magic. This is about understanding you and your world so I can help you navigate through the obstacles that have been in your way to reaching that goal. That's a totally different way of presenting.
Mitch, can you give us an example of what you mean by that? Give us an example of what you're saying about new age.
Go ahead.
Well, we'll wait for Mitch to give us that. What were you going to say, John?
I got lost right there. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that things are changing, Mitch. I'll say this. Things are changing in that coaching is becoming more acceptable. With the fact that we are now a credentialed professional, we now have an association, we now have a third-party accredited credential. It's a credential that has to be earned by being able to demonstrate your ability to coach somebody. So we're raising the bar on coaching just from this membership and the third-party accreditation and everything else. it's like if you think of psychologists, they have a checks and balances system, or our SLA membership is our checks and balances system. And so we're able to we're working on stepping up the accountability and the credibility of the coaching community. One of the things that you could do, I don't know if you're presenting yourself as a life coach, but you could present yourself as an executive coach or a business coach, and then it wouldn't be so associated with New Age stuff and crystals and that type of thing. I believe if you presented yourself as an executive coach or a business coach, that you would have a different response from people who say business coach. Okay, so then they would think that you're, doing a business.
Barbara,
yes.
Phenomenal point. That is an incredible point. You want to align yourself with the people that you're speaking to, that you're engaging in conversation with.
And Phil, real quick, back to what you were saying before. You don't have to say you're a coach.
That's right.
You can describe yourself in a much different, and this goes back again to, men I teach in the community of dating. They're CEOs. Don't say you're a CEO. Tell them exactly what you do. Well, I help people in my business doing this and that, and kind of describe it more in layman's terms if they've got a bad connotation with the word coach. I've seen that happen too in my own experiences, that most people don't even understand what coaching is, and that it's hocus pocus. So, I mean, you don't have to use that word. You're a mentor. Right. You're somebody.
Absolutely.
You're somebody who helps somebody else, and you can just explain it in those terms. This is what I do. I just worked with somebody who was 25, who was having a real problem with his relationship-wise. I help him build up his confidence, and I'll go on through how I've helped that person, kind of describing, and obviously my story is going to go exactly in with their needs and what they said they could use help with.
Right. So what you're saying is, and I agree with this. That's one of the things that we talk about in our class when we're talking about elevator pitches. Is it's about what is the benefit that you provide for your client, rather than I'm a coach. It's no, I help people accomplish their goals by holding their feet to the fire, or I help people accomplish their goals by by providing accountability and structure.
Absolutely.
So that way you're not saying I'm a coach, which, like you said, although we are working on that, Mitch, that is the goal of raising the bar here, is providing that accountability and credibility for coaching, so that we aren't a joke. Love that. And solution providers, Cynthia.
And you're right.
Go ahead.
You're right. Sorry, real fast, Barbara. That was exactly what I was going to say. That's the misconceptions I've heard of coaching, and it's what we're trying to fix here with a third party. Is they're not accountable, and it's somebody who wants to be a counselor who just doesn't want to go to school. Just a bunch of misconceptions, basically. So.
Right. So with the accountability of an association behind you, it just does provide more credibility. So let's see. From Cynthia, she just said, love to use that we are solution providers. I love that too. I'm a solution provider. That feels good, and it sounds good. It has a good feeling to me when somebody is just saying that I'm a solution provider. Feels really good to me, and energetically. So
yeah, it really does. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, B had some questions, and that was wondering about when somebody is just starting out, what would be the appropriate number of sessions to give pro bono? And to that be, I always say never, ever 100% pro bono coach. Do it in exchange for something, whether it be 3 referrals or something else that you could use, but don't ever volunteer coach for nothing in exchange. Make it
Barbara,
of some
this
kind.
goes back to, sorry to interrupt, but this goes back to what I was saying. If you see somebody that you can transform their life, there's something that they're missing and you see it and you can help them with that, I would coach that person pro bono, because they're going to shine when I'm done with them, and every one of their friends goes, what happened to you, man? You're like a different person. Look at the way you're walking, holding yourself. You're completely, what I'm saying? That's the transformation I've had experience with helping men through. So that's where I would do pro bono, and probably only instance. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
the
I'm
thing,
sorry. Go ahead, Linda.
I was just going to say that Sometimes when you do it for free or pro bono, it doesn't hold the value that it would if you pay for it. People don't hold, they don't, even if it was $10 or $15, if I'm going to coach someone who, let's say, was abused and is between jobs and this and that, they want to give me some money for it. They want to, even if you get $15, it just adds value to what they're getting. It makes it important, and it's more respectable if you do that.
I think those are all great ideas, and one final thing that I'll say is getting a referral is great. From as you're starting out, if you're going to do pro bono coaching, I highly recommend doing the pro bono coaching just in exchange for something. So in exchange for a testimonial. Ask them if they'll get on a video camera and give you a testimonial. And maybe you want to even do a before and after. And the before is before you've actually sat down and done the new client interview with them, and after is right after you've delivered their vision statement. And then you could say, would you recommend this service for anybody else? And let them just spill their guts about how powerful that last session was, right? We all know how powerful the vision statement sessions are. So, you know, I'm saying you have to get something in exchange. It doesn't have to be financial, but it certainly does have to be something, whether it's 3 referrals to other people that can afford to have you, hire you as their coach, or a testimonial that you can use on your website, something. You know, maybe it's lunch. Maybe you meet at a restaurant and they buy the lunch every time. Something in exchange is I believe is very, very important for A, your self-esteem, and B, the person that you're coaching will have more value, just like Linda said, if they are paying or exchanging something for it. So I think those are very important. Another question that B had was talking about setting up your business for an LLC, or setting your pricing, or accepting electronic funds, and obtaining liability insurance. Okay, B, those are great questions, and I think that we will be addressing some of those things later on. In fact, I know a great speaker that we could get in to talk about the LLCs and how important it is to protect your business and that type of thing. Yeah, we were definitely planning to have a lot more information on how to build your business and different ways to do that, and we have some great speakers coming up. Next week, Linda, I'm going to let you share.
Yes, next week we have a fabulous speaker, and she is a psychologist, a PhD, recently mother of twins, and she keeps all of that going and her great big business, and she did it all, ready, on social media. So she's going to tell you all about how she did that and how you absolutely can do that too.
Yeah,
so please tune in for that. She is great, and she's funny, and she just really has a knack of conveying to people how it worked for her.
Beautiful.
And it worked for you.
That's a little preview of what's coming next week. We have a comment from Cora. She says, credibility for using the word coach is building. There are many large global companies that are implementing leader as coach programs for their frontline supervisors. If you wanted to be great in sports, you would definitely hire a coach. Any life achievement can be attained quicker with a coach. So that's a great point, Cora. And everybody's asking about the slides. They love the slides. So I want you to know that I'm going to be posting this webinar, and the slides are in the webinar for sure. I'm going to be posting this recording in our SLA membership area so that you can go and review it anytime. And yes, last week's webinar, I'm telling you, was short. It was like 5 minutes. It was just a quick introduction. We stopped the recording and answered questions for people, but the recording basically just is an introduction to what we're planning to do ongoing every week, is have a webinar with providing value, and you can tune in and watch them when you want to, but it's great to have you here and have you be able to talk back and forth and get your questions answered and that type of thing. And if you can't attend and you do have questions for a speaker, you can submit them by email to us, and we will ask the speaker, and then you can visit the recording later. All right.
Barbara,
yes.
I just want to interrupt for a moment. Phil has an offer for you guys. I'll let him tell you about it.
Wow.
I've trained hundreds of different sales salespeople as well as sales managers. And I know that when you begin to get into some of this work, it's really neat to be able to bounce this off of people once in a while. And I'm willing to offer some time, you know, a one-time to, you know, reach back to me and let me help you if there's an issue that you're having, whether it be in approaching somebody during the discovery process, during the advocation process, successfully getting across the intent that we talk about, or as a solution provider. I'd be more than happy to help you out on a one-time basis.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Phil. Wow, very generous. So how would they get in touch with you, Phil?
I guess probably the best way to reach out to me is through my email, and then we can set something up.
Excellent.
And that is Phil Gallicchio, PhilGallicchio @live.com.
Okay, it's in the chat box for everybody. You should be able to pick it up and copy and paste
Yep.
it, save it somewhere.
Right. There you go.
Thank you, Phil. That's outstanding, and that sounds like something that would be of so much value. And are you going to be attending next week as well, Phil?
Actually, I think I'm going to be in Atlanta next week.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a nice trip. Okay, so all right. So unless anybody has any questions, I think we're going to call it a wrap for tonight. I want to say thank you so much for joining us and participating and playing full out and asking great questions, and certainly looking forward to seeing all of you next week when we learn exactly how we're going to be able to build a flourishing business with social media and Dr. Coleen Long. So thank you all for joining us.
Great. Thank you for having me, Barbara. Bye-bye.
Thanyou,
All right,
Phil.
welcome. Linda.
Yes, thank you, Barb.
No, thank you. I want to just publicly thank Linda right now for arranging for all of our speakers to come and speak and share this valuable content with us. It's not an easy task to get everyone organized and everything else. You did a wonderful job. So thank you so much, Linda, for all you've done to help us be a great community.
Thank you, love.
All right. Good night, everyone.